The question was, I made a comment about rape being harder to end because it's somehow programmed into our DNA. I think we haven't yet gotten to the point as a world community where we even acknowledge yet what rape is. We don't even see it as something that's exceptional and extraordinary. Okay, that's number one. We don't understand, for example, that women have a right to their bodies in most places, and that the question of can I, should I, how does this feel is the question. We don't even understand to some degree, and I see this in every institution I go to and fight for the ending of rape. I would say most people don't have a clue what rape does to a woman. Have a clue. You know, I think when you understand that, and when people begin to understand what rape is, what is rape? Rape is seizing something and taking something and occupying and dominating something that is not yours, and that you don't have a right to, even if you think you do, right? Just getting that concept into us as human beings has not happened yet. And one of the things I see, particularly at the UN and places that are just so unbelievably passive and slow and reluctant to move to the degree and to the magnitude of what rape is that for a woman, and I can speak as a rape survivor, as a person who has been raped, you recover from rape your entire life. It is not a moment, it is a destiny. It is not a second of your life, it is every step you take after that is impacted by that moment. Your body has been invaded, your self-esteem has been eroded, you lose the capacity to trust, your relationship to intimacy completely changes, your sense of what you can do in the world changes. You have been taken. You have been taken. Yourself has been taken, your soul has been taken. The world does not understand that. And the world, if it did, would be moving in a way against it, where we would all be in the streets, all would be alarmed, all would be outraged every moment of every day until it ended. So first of all, that has to get into our psyches, that what it is. And then I think also we don't bring boys up to understand what rape is either, or to ask, or to be gentle, or to go slow, or to take time. Everything is about their needs and when they want it, and the whole world is geared on that. And so women are in this position constantly where the tempo we move at and the pace we move at and the longings we have, it's not equally valued in the world, you know? I see that in the vagina monologues all the time, how women move towards pleasure and how men move towards pleasure is often different. And both are really important. Both are like the ingredients of yin and yang and up and down and back and forth, but only one is dominating the world right now. Only one energy is dominating the world right now. And if they don't come into balance, there's no way the human species will survive. So it's a much more intricate undoing. About 4 years ago, I was invited by this extraordinary man named I was invited to interview this man named Dr. Denis Mukwege, who is as close to a saint as I've met in this lifetime. And he is an OBGYN in the Congo, and he has been working in a place called Panzi Hospital. And he had been in the middle of the bush serving women maternity cases and working with women who have a lot of problems, gynecological problems. And he suddenly discovered women were arriving who had serious and traumatic wounds to their reproductive organs and their vaginas. And he realized that they were being attacked and destroyed in war. There's been a war raging in the Congo for the last 13 years. 6 million people have died. Over 500,000 women have been brutally raped and tortured, and most of the world didn't know about it. I think many more people know about it now. But when I met him, I was so devastated by the stories, but also he moved me so deeply because here was a man who had been working in the midst of nowhere. He had been in the bush for years, literally sewing women's vaginas up as fast as the militias were ripping them apart. And then his clinic was burned and destroyed, and all his staff were killed. And he moved to Bukavu. He didn't leave the Congo, which he easily could have done because he's a genius doctor. But instead, he moved to Bukavu and he opened what I just think is one of the most amazing facilities, a hospital called the Panzi Hospital. And it's very rudimentary. It's very, they have nothing, but he manages to save hundreds and hundreds of women's lives. And when I went there at his invitation, he invited Vide to come, and our rule is we only go where we're invited, and we only go where people want our help. We don't impose on anyone. I was utterly shattered. I I don't even really know how to talk about that particular transformation, because I'd heard horrible stories. I have lived in the rape mines of the world for the last 14 years, but nothing compared to what I heard in the DRC. Not only the degree to which women were being violated, the mutilations, the gang rapes, the shoving of instruments in plastic, melted plastic inside women, the gang rapes of, 4-year-old girls and raping 9-month-old babies to death, and 80-year-old women, the cannibalism and forcing women to eat their own babies, and horrible, horrible, horrible things. But what was also horrific was the numbers of women. It was like being at Pansy Hospital, where there were 300 women, all of whom had been raped. Most of them had fistula. For those of you who don't know what fistula is basically a hole that gets formed between your bladder and your vagina, or your vagina and your rectum. And as a consequence, you can't hold your pee or poop or both. And as a result of the rapes, women have holes inside them. And so I was at a place where there were 300 women at any given time who were just peeing and pooping with no control. And I felt like I was in a Doris Lessing novel where the end of the world had happened. And I just went, if we allow this, if we give permission to this, the world will end. It will end. I had learned years ago when I first went to Afghanistan under the Taliban that, what was happening to women there was so gigantically horrific that giving license to that would absolutely do something horrific to the rest of the world. And when I came back, I tried to get everybody to see this particular video of a woman being shot in her burqa for flirting, and nobody cared about the women of Afghanistan. Well, 9/11 happened very shortly after that. And people should have cared about the women of Afghanistan, because we are one world. We are not disconnected. We are one world. And what happens to women anywhere on this planet is happening to all of us. And I decided after the Congo and after that first trip, I wrote a very big story for Glamour. And we decided in V-Day that we would devote ourselves to the Congo, that we had to stop and we had to raise our voices and we had to do something major to alert the world to the horrific and massive violation of women.